This is ICASTnews.com, live and direct from United Nations headquarters in New York City, and this is our special coverage of the last day of 2016, a day which saw the United Nations Security Council unanimously endorse a ceasefire deal led by Turkey and Russia, and unanimously endorse plans for fresh peace talks to begin in Astana, Kazakhstan in late January 2017. The resolution adopted today by a unanimous show of hands, a resolution drafted by the Russian ambassador Vitaly Churkin, calls for rapid access for humanitarian aid to be delivered across the country. It calls for a ceasefire except for groups that are labeled by the Security Council as terrorists. The ceasefire, which began a day ago, has mostly been holding, except as the American ambassador announced for attacks in Wadi Barada. It's worth going in and looking for a few key moments in today's session, and let's listen in to some of the key points at the last session of 2016 of the Security Council.
Buenos días otra.
Good afternoon. The 7,855th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in the Middle East. The agenda is adopted. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. Members of the Council have before them document S/2016/1138, the text of a draft resolution submitted by the Russian Federation and Turkey. I wish to draw the attention of Council members to document S/2016/1133, a letter dated 29 December 2016, from the permanent representative of the Russian Federation and the chargé d'affaires ad interim of the permanent mission of Turkey to the United Nations, addressed to the President of the Security Council. The Council is ready to proceed to the vote on the draft resolution before it. I shall put the draft resolution to the vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2016/1138 please raise their hand? The draft resolution has been unanimously adopted as Resolution 2336. I will now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make statements after the vote. And I would ask you to please be brief, given that these are explanations of vote. I give the floor first to the Russian Federation.
Well, then, the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, we learned from our Russian colleagues about a proposed arrangement that Russia and Turkey had concluded to introduce a cessation of hostilities and restart intra-Syrian discussions. Their goals are laudable, and we welcome all efforts to end the violence in Syria and strongly support a nationwide ceasefire accompanied by unfettered humanitarian access to all besieged areas. That said, we are still learning more about this initiative, including details regarding its implementation. In this regard, we regret that the annexes to the agreements which outline the ceasefire arrangement brokered by Russia and Turkey in detail have not yet been made available. We have voted in favor of this resolution because it strikes the right balance, cautious optimism and support, predicated on hope, but tempered by a realistic need to wait to see how this arrangement is implemented before casting the full weight of the Security Council behind it. We would highlight 2 key points. Our hope is that a ceasefire will truly hold and will not serve as a justification for further unacceptable offensives. In that regard, we are concerned at reports of a regime offensive supported by Hezbollah militia in Wadi Barada. The Security Council's adoption of this text should be seen as a strong signal that such activities must cease. We have also seen press reports that some signatories are concerned about differences between regime and opposition versions of delegation documents. In this regard, we hope that reconciliation of any differences or explanation of why there are differences will occur swiftly. We especially stress that OP2 of the resolution just adopted emphasizes the need for full implementation of resolutions 2254 and 2268. Likewise, it is clear from OP3 that talks in Astana will relate directly to the UN's process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the Chargé d'Affaires.
So the United Nations Security Council meeting as the new year approaches in several of the homelands. Vitaly Churkin looked at his watch and said, in 2 hours, it's going to be a new year in Moscow. The Security Council met and approved this third ceasefire of 2016. But perhaps we should reflect on the good words of the ambassador from Angola, Ismail Martins. Ambassador Martins said in looking at the resolution for which his country, like all the others, voted, he said there are no perfect resolutions. But this is a good way of ending a bad year, the year 2016, ending with a resolution that indicates that the solution to the war, the civil war in Syria, is a political solution, not a military solution. And he looked forward to progress out of Astana in Kazakhstan in 2017. Everyone thanked the Russian delegation, the Turkish delegation, and the Spanish presidency of the Security Council. And they said in going away, they hoped there would be no more meetings in 2016. For ICASNews.com, live and direct from United Nations headquarters in New York City, for our last broadcast of 2016, I'm Jonathan Sanders.